Not a right.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
They'll take it right off and take it back.
Good morning and welcome to the fiscal meeting for December 2017. Please make your introductions for the record.
Deputy Commissioner O'Neill.
Matthew Fagan, Council NYPD, present by invitation.
John Dorsett, designee for Controller Scott Stringer.
Cynthia Collins, designee for Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Phil Dukes, designee for Commissioner of Finance Jacques Ziha.
Brian Berge, Law Department by invitation.
Marta Ross, Law Department by invitation.
Joseph Alejandro, designee for Patrick Lynch, Mubarak Abdul-Jabbar, John Puglisi.
Chris McGrath, PBA by invitation.
Merritt Riley from the PBA.
Mark Marino, PBA by invitation.
Rod Chubb, PBA by invitation.
Gary DeRosa, designee for Ed Mullen, SBA.
Nick Safuni, present by invitation as counsel, SBA, LBA, CEA.
Steve Mabilia, designee for Lou Turco, LBA.
Roy Richter, CEA.
Kenny Sparks, DEA.
Michael Palladino, DEA.
Karen Paxton, DEA by invitation. Sherry Chance, City Actuary, present by invitation.
Bob Sanskistad, Pension Fund by invitation. Kevin Holleran, Pension Fund by invitation.
I'm Joseph Kanchamalam, present by invitation. The audit is for the pension plan.
Richard Nathan, present by invitation. Mark Stanton.
Roseanne Bowen, Mark Stanton, present by invitation. Diane Carr, Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Anthony Antonellis, Medical Division, present by invitation.
Charles Mastretta, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Vincent Gillies, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Nicole Jambrisi, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Keith Snow, Office of the Actuary, by invitation.
John Flynn, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Mike Jacobowitz, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Artie Williams, DEA by invitation.
And Samantha, Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Alyssa Roca, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Lisa Garcia, Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Okay, Joe.
Okay. Page 1 from the next meeting date, Wednesday, January 10, 2018. Okay, pages 2 through 38.
Nothing of a controversial nature, Joe, so move it.
So moved. Thank you, Kenny. Okay. Presentation, order of Marks Hanneth LLP, New York City Police Pension Fund, post-audit presentation for the year ended June 30, 2017. Gentlemen?
So good morning, everyone. My role here is the lead partner for the audit of the pension plan. So you should have a booklet which looks like this. You're going to focus on our discussion on this booklet. So you have a team of 18 people working on this audit this year. This is Marks Hanneth's second year doing the audit for this pension as well as all other New York City retirement system plans. A couple of them are here, they've already introduced themselves. We have some required communication. We are required to communicate to the Board of Trustees under the U.S. auditing standards. That is what is included in tab 2 of your presentation materials. I will go through a couple of items here. The authority for the audit of this pension plan comes from a contract we signed with the Comptroller's Office. So if you turn to page 2 of that tab 2 material, the audit timeline is here. So this audit timeline was scheduled based on our discussion with the pension plan management as well as the Comptroller's Office. At this point, most of these due dates are passed, and we completed the audit and issued an unqualified, which is the highest opinion which you can get in any audit. That was issued on October 27th. A copy of that financial statement is included in tab 5 of your package. I'll take a minute and go through that later. If you turn to the next page, these are the required communication. So our responsibility to complete the audit and issue the financial statements. Just make sure that the financial statements are prepared in accordance with the U.S. GAAP. Management's responsibility, they are supposed to provide us all the information, just make sure that there are internal controls in place, as well as they are instituting some procedures for prevention and detection of fraud. As the auditors, we look at all that package, and we don't have much recommendation in this area, maybe one or two which I will go a little later. Then if you turn to the next page, the management judgments and estimates, we are supposed to look at that and conclude whether it is reasonable or not. So we are concluding that those are reasonable. The biggest estimate on the pension plans financial statement is the estimates made by the actuary's office and the expected investment return rate, discount rate, etc. It's all reasonable. The details are included on the next page. Then there are no material weakness or significant deficiencies which we noticed in this internal control system. We have some minor recommendations which is included in the next tab. So also there are no audit difficulties or disagreement with management. Actually, the management really worked with Mark Span to complete this audit timely. So I want to acknowledge a couple of people who really worked with us to complete this timely. One is Charles Listra, Sunny, and John from the finance group here. They really helped us to complete this audit timely. So those are the required communication. The last 2 pages towards the end of that tab is the management representation letter. This is a document which management signed, taking the responsibility on the financial statement. So we just want to share that with you. So that if you go to tab number 3 of your materials, this is a management letter, which states that there is no material weakness in your internal controls. Then tab 4 of your materials have some recommendations, very minor items. If you look at page 2 of that recommendation memo, financial statement preparation. So we suggested some improvements in the financial statement preparation process. Some of the review of supporting documentation needs improvement, so we recommended management to take care of that. Then there are some technology-related recommendations which my colleague Richard Reagan is going to go through. If you turn to page 3 of that, there are 2 follow-up recommendations from last year. Those are items 3 and 4 on page 3. So again, some improvements in financial statement preparation. The one is using an Excel spreadsheet to aggregate all the numbers. We suggested that probably they should consider automating that process to improve the preparation of financials as well as to avoid any kind of errors in the preparation process. Then when it comes to pension benefit payments, we recommended that in addition to looking at the Social Security website for making sure whether the beneficiary is still alive or not, maybe a confirmation process has to be established. Those are our recommendations. Then Richard Reagan is going to go through the technology related recommendations.
Good morning, everybody. Starting on page 2, we have a number of technology recommendations. The first one is the general ledger account review. The current application you have doesn't lend itself to that, but the upgrade of the pension system will include this functionality going forward. So when that gets deployed sometime between 2018 and 2022, that will be included. If you look on page 3, number 5, which is the protection of personally identifiable information. Information was being transferred in your office to the actuary by bank messenger, so that's been changed. Going forward, when the new COPS 2.0 comes out of the pension system. The data will be encrypted at rest, but currently a secure file protocol has been set up now to have the data go back and forth between oftentimes or in a secure manner. So that's already been deployed since we've met with the team. The pension management system, this is not a risk, it's just an area that we're identifying that the system is going to be upgraded and they expect it to be completed somewhere between 2018 and 2022. The RFPs are out and they're still going through the selection process. Number 7 is the oversight and control of IT access. IT still has access to some of the applications without as much oversight as we would like to see, but again, with the upgrade of COPS 2.0, this will include that functionality. Number 8, which is account review and recertification, which is very similar to that. Again, that'll be part of that, but they're going to include that as part of their annual review to take a look at any accounts that have been that are no longer being used and make sure that everybody has the proper permissions. Number 9, network and application administrator, password management. There's a number of senior management now that's been provided with USBs with all the main passwords, but they're going to increase that by writing a new policy and procedure on encrypted flash drives. And penetration testing was the last one, so they're going to include a penetration testing of the environment when the COPS 2.0 application is. That's all I've got, unless there's any questions. Okay, thank you.
The last thing I want to point out is, tab 5 of your material is the financial statements, which is prepared by management and audited by us. Our auditor's opinion is page 1 and 2. I can mention before, it's a claim. That's all.
Any questions?
Okay.
Questions?
So, I have a question. This report is pretty comprehensive. Next year, would you be able to send it to us in advance of the meeting?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes.
We'll get that done.
Yes, we can provide this to you maybe a week or 2 in advance.
Okay, that would be good.
Yeah.
That's my question.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
It's always on.
I know.
You always have to make an entry, so. Yeah.
Ready? Yeah. Okay, pages 39 through 40. Discussion on authorization to join with boards of other New York City retirement systems in a common investment meeting.
This resolution is for a 6-month extension.
6-month extension of the CIM.
And as always, we're always striving to make it a better experience for trustees of the system.
And hence you'll continue striving,
And
I'm
we'll
sure.
continue striving. We'll keep our feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
I'll just ask, were there any changes to the resolution from the prior one? Nicole?
Just the date.
Just the date. We'd like to table that for 1 month. Okay. All right, next item, page 41, resolution of checkbook NYC.
So this is the resolution we bring to you quarterly in order to allow the public access to the checkbook of the city and for civilian information that pertains to civilian personnel and stuff to be available on the checkbook.
Is it the same 5 people that sit there and read through this?
I don't have the numbers, I don't have the statistics in front of me, Joe, so I can only speculate. I'd like to invite a motion.
Gary?
We have a motion? Second?
So moved.
Okay.
All right, page 42, resolution authorizing and requesting the Controller of the City of New York as custodian of the funds for the police pension fund to invest funds for the period commencing January 1st, 2018 and ending March 31st, 2018.
Joe, I believe that there was
There is
a friendly
one
amendment.
item I'd like to note a change in, and that is on letter A, to make any investment which the trustees of the fund are authorized to make. I'd like that to be changed to make any investment which the trustees of the fund authorize him to make.
Actually, how about authorize the controller? Because-
Authorize the controller to make. It sounds less sexist.
Correct. And it has not been in the past.
So I'm gonna adjust line A, and it's gonna say to make any investment which the trustees of the fund have authorized the office of the comptroller to make.
Correct.
And we'll accept that friendly amendment, and I guess we'll invite a motion. It can be self-service.
So so I'd like to so move that.
Second?
All right. Pages 43 through 44, resolution fiscal year 2018 budget. City of New York, would you like to address that? Mayor's office, you have anything?
Yeah, we just would like to note the really hard work on the COPS 2.0 program that the staff have put in, working with other agencies to answer questions and to diligence. I think at the end of the day, we've ended up with a fabulous result product, and a lot of hard work, a lot of good groundwork was led. Kevin and Sims both did a great job, as well as John and Nicole in legal. So we're really pleased and looking at getting this started in the first phase off with getting the contract with Tech approved.
Thank you very much.
Kevin,
You got all that, right?
in order to demonstrate the concurrence that conforms with the administrative code,
Are you making a motion?
I'm making a
Oh, this is
motion.
it.
to
the
approve.
control's office will second that motion in order to fulfill
Okay,
the.
great. I just want to point out one thing. We did take out the estimates for the IVMV, security testing, Q&A, and change management vendors. So we will be coming back once we get firm numbers to discuss that and hopefully get that approved for the budget.
Right, and my understanding is that John's working on getting those RFPs and those requests out, so we'll have a better idea of what the numbers will actually be once they come back, so.
Okay,
So I think we've got the initial, just so the board knows, we're looking at a range of 47 to 63 million for the main part of the VITEC product. And then the other component parts will probably be, I guess, we're guessing 15 to 20 million, but that's subject to change, so we'll wait to see what they're gonna be. Is that, John, is that correct?
That
Those
is
numbers comport with what you've got?
It's for the total, the numbers that you said are for
Okay.
total project,
Right,
without the four, what we call them, the secondary
Right.
measures.
okay.
Okay,
okay, thank you very much.
I'd like to so move that item.
Second. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Okay, go forth and serve. Next resolution, initial estimate payment of transferable earnings to the police officers variable supplement and police superior officers variable supplement fund for fiscal year 2017.
Want to accept. We have a second?
Second. Yes, the PBA, before we begin, we had an outstanding data request to the actuary and the controller, and I'd like to thank the controller for responding with information. We have yet to see anything from the actuary of a substantial nature, so.
Yes, so we made a request to the controller's office and the actuary's office. Just to give a brief timeline, we made the request on November 7th. the resolution vote was tabled to allow the controller's office and the actor's office to respond to that request. The controller's office did respond this past Friday with some data. We're looking at that. The actor's office also responded on Friday, denying our request and invited questions. We did follow up with the actor's office with questions. We took up on our invitation without waiving the right to request the data. The actor's office did circulate early this morning responses to our questions that we obviously haven't had time to look at, but from the preliminary review, it does look like we'll have additional follow-up questions to the actor's office to better understand the skim calculations and the resolution request, and I think Joe's going to make a request to have the board authorize the actor's office to provide the data, since in the initial response when Joe, as a trustee, made the request, it was denied. Joe is going to ask the board to request the data from the actor's office, and the data that we're requesting is summarized in the November 7th email.
So we've had this before. We've had the board vote on this matter before. The board has been kind enough to join with the PBA in authorizing the data to be transmitted to us. I believe also any trustees entitled to the information in the past, as they've asked. I think the mayor's office even asked for the information that we got. So we would like to have that vote in order to get the data. I think it's only fair to trustees before they vote, for whatever reasons they need, whatever information, in order to have a full and a knowledgeable vote as to what they're allowing in and out of the fund.
So is that a new business after we vote on this resolution to transfer the skim payable to the VSFs?
I don't think so. It's all part of the request that we've had since November.
If I may, I think there's a motion on the table to accept the skim transfer, or to transfer the assets, the skim monies to the VSFs. I think the request on the data is a secondary request, and I think that I'm looking around at my city side colleagues, and I believe I was there for the initial vote on this. However, I don't believe that this occurred in this iteration of the city side. If I'm mistaken, please let me know. But perhaps Kevin could find the minutes from that last meeting so that my colleagues on the city side can understand what the question that was asked, because I think you did a very elaborate job the last time that we discussed this of putting what you were looking for on the record. And I think that if you don't mind me saying that, I think that it would be
and it's also in the email.
It's
also in the email that was sent out to all the trustees some weeks ago.
Yeah. So I just think that if we could just have an opportunity just to review that in either possibly second call that item or.
Yeah, but I just think there's a motion on the table.
Yes, there's a motion. There's a motion regarding the transfer of the assets to the skim calculation, which I do think is separate and distinct from the request of the PBA.
So maybe we should table that until we have all that information.
So I think that there's a motion on the table. I think there's a responsibility to transfer money over to the VSFs. I note that by last month's table, the market outperformed by 2%, and it cost my members $24 million. So I'm a little concerned with this money not being transferred. I think there's a fiduciary responsibility of us as trustees, to the extent that we have a preliminary amount and some extraneous factors to be resolved in the future when we get this final amount, that we actually have this resolution voted on, and of course I would be voting yes for it. I'm not sure if tabling this would be outside the responsibilities as detailed in the administrative code, because I believe it has to be done by December 31st.
It's only tabled until they get the information within the meeting. I think that's what she's requesting. she'd like a copy of the email and the information. John wanted the minutes from the
No,
prior meeting.
Well, I
No,
want
that's
them,
a
no,
separate
on the separate issue. I think the first issue has to be resolved, and parliamentary, I'd have to look at the law department. I know you're not parliamentarians, but I believe we have a motion and a second. We have to take action on that, irregardless of whether or not there's a motion to
I have
to
a roll
table.
call vote.
So I think that would require a roll call vote. So I guess
Is that correct?
is it a roll call vote on the table or on the transfer?
Well, the table's only offered until you were gonna get the information.
Well,
If it's something else.
I was gonna ask at taking that as a separate issue. I think that the issue to transfer the assets is separate and distinct from the request that you're making for additional information.
Oh, okay.
That is that's my understanding of this, is that we're talking about two different items, and I would respectfully request that we find the information on the second part of that, which is what was voted on by this board as far as information goes, information flow. But I think that the question on skim transfer should be taken by itself independently, and that motion was made and seconded. So I would request to reiterate the point that Cindy made. I think that it would be prudent to take a vote on the skim transfer, and then we can possibly table the request for the request for information from the actuary for the board to make that request based on a review of the past minutes.
You call for a roll call vote?
Oh, you got anything?
Yes,
I think,
in a convoluted way, yes.
I think our view would be that they're related, that you can't really have the resolution and the vote of the skim transfer without deciding whether the data that we're going to want, which we believe that we need to, in order to vote on the resolution, can occur beforehand. But, you know, if the others are going to proceed with the transfer vote with their objections noted, I just don't, in our view, we don't think the resolution vote that Joe can vote on it without having the data request being voted on and having the data in hand. So I think that would be our view.
I think we respect that position that you've taken. However, at this time, we would request a roll call vote in order to, on the first question of whether or not to transfer the assets from the main fund to the VSS.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
PBA?
Hold on. Just asking. PBA votes no.
DEA?
Yes.
SBA?
Yes.
LBA?
Yes.
CEA?
Yes.
Mayor's Office?
Yes.
Commissioner of Finance?
Yes.
Controller?
Yes.
And the Police Commissioner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So the next is the resolution determination of the AVO gate for the police officers variable supplement fund.
Joe, you have to move into the POVSF.
Okay, so I make a motion, we go into the police officers variable supplement fund.
Do you have a second? City sign?
Second.
Controller?
So the PBA has an outstanding request, which we got information from the controller's office. Again, I thank them on the record for that information. We've gotten a response from the actuary, and the answers preliminarily don't seem to be a thorough response to the questions given to the Office of the Actuary. And we ask that we get that information, and we ask the board to vote to allow us to get that information from the actuary's office.
So at this time, I would ask that, consistent with previous statements that I made, that.
Yeah, put them on the record, John, it's a separate meeting.
Yes, I understand that, Joe. Seeing as how this has been discussed at prior meetings and with prior iterations of the city sign, I would respectfully request that the minutes of the meetings that pertain to this be provided to the city side trustees as well as to the members from the PBA in order to provide a full picture of what was voted on in the past, because I understand that this request is consistent with a motion that was made and passed at a previous meeting.
Actually, it should just be shared with all the trustees.
Yeah, well, we're in POVSF, right?
Oh, okay.
So I would request that be shared with the.
Did you want to take a roll call of the trustees that are present in the Police Officer Variable Supplement Fund?
Excuse me, Roy, this is a separate meeting. You're not in this, you're not involved in this meeting.
I got it.
Thank you.
Do we want a second call then? Is that what you're?
I mean,
I
don't
think
know
you
how
should
we'll
second
get
call it.
the information.
And we'll have to we should probably table it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we can table it. I think we should table it so we can.
So it's
Because
tabled.
we'll have to be able to read through the information and discuss it.
So you just wanna table it until, we get the information later today? Yeah. Because I think the actuary has to have this in by the end of the year, correct?
We'll have to have it in.
Oh.
The board has to. Right.
so I think we could table it to later on today. And
Yeah.
if there's some issue that arises, we'll deal with that
Okay.
after review of the information.
So you want me to make a motion to go back to police?
You have to exit and.
Right, and then it has to be a motion from them to go into police superior officers. All right, so I make a motion that we table this till later today, till the information is provided. And so I make a motion that we go into the police pension fund meeting.
Okay.
I make a motion that we go into the Police Superior Officers VSF Fund meeting.
Second?
Second.
And
I
I make
defer to Mike.
And I make a motion to accept the resolution of the actuary and receive the billions of dollars into our police officers, superior officers, variable supplement fund.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay. We need a motion to come out.
Make a motion to leave the police officers, superior officers, police superior officers, variable supplement fund.
Second.
Okay?
Okay, so we're now back in executive session of the police pension fund.
Public, we're
We need a motion.
Public, I'm sorry. So make a motion that we go into executive session.
I'll second that.
Okay?
Second that.
Motion. Okay, let's just,
Yeah, yeah.